Welcome to another episode of Calling an Audible. This is a podcast recorded here at UMC with a focus on local, regional, and national news and sports. My name is Greg Johnson, along with my co-host Zach Greenberg. And to start off with, we'd like to congratulate our sister school UMD for winning the Men's National Hockey Championship, with being the last team admitted into the tournament, and they came out on top after losing last year. It's a great feat to see, and proud of those guys over there.
Yeah, it's good to see a Minnesota school win it. The Gophers couldn't be in it this year. Obviously, we don't have a hockey team, so by default, congratulations to the Bulldogs for winning the championship. Going into some UMC sports, we'll talk about some baseball. Greg, want to update us on the baseball team?
Well, for the past couple days since Sunday, and today is Wednesday now, so we've been chiseling ice off our field because we recently got a tarp that was donated to us by the St. Paul Saints because one of our former players now is the head groundskeeper there. So they shipped up a tarp over the summer, and then we put it on the field as fall ball ended. So now we've been chiseling 3-inch thick ice off the tarp and just anywhere on the field. But the nice part is the field should be ready to go for our games tomorrow versus Bemidji. So hopefully all goes well with that. It's been a fun ride with that field work.
Well, and hopefully you'll be able to use the field, because I'm not too confident in a tarp from the St. Paul Saints. The Winnipeg Goldeyes are a far better franchise. So
here we go with your
two-time defending champions.
No big
American
deal
Association.
Huh? Yeah. You keep it going. But so in news today, Conor McGregor is officially charged with assault and criminal mischief from his episode at the Barclays Center. And personally, I'm glad to see him charged with this. I think it's time for him to get off his high horse and realize the extent of damage he's done. I honestly hope if he gets put in prison, I think it'd be a good thing for him, but I don't see how he will. He'd probably just get probation.
It won't happen.
No. He'll get probation of some sort and then some community service and maybe a huge fine, but again, he just needs to realize that he's not above everyone else. We're all people here, and just throwing a temper tantrum because Dana White took away his belt because he wouldn't defend it. I mean, one day we're all going to grow up, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, when you have that kind of money laying around, it's hard to grow up because money gives you the opportunity to live however you want. And that's what Conor McGregor showed last week.
Did you see the proposal for the MMA rules for McGregor versus Mayweather?
I didn't.
Oh my God, dude! It's basically just gonna be another boxing match.
Yeah. Oh, I did see that there would be no kicking allowed, and
so the official line is with 4-ounce gloves, no shoes, 5-minute rounds in 155-pound division. So no kicks, no takedowns, no elbows, no knees. Certain things will be allowed in the clinch.
So it's a boxing match in the octagon, basically.
Yep, with 4-ounce gloves, and you can do certain holds, I think, but no takedowns, nothing like no knees, no elbows. What is that? That's not MMA.
Just sounds like a boxing match. Going into some playoff pictures, we have the NBA playoffs finally taking shape with the Houston Rockets at the number 1 overall seed and the Toronto Raptors clinching the 2nd seed after following Golden State's 40-point loss to the Utah Jazz last night.
That was just a beatdown.
It was a beatdown. The Warriors are definitely limping into the playoffs this year, and who knows how far they'll make it. The Rockets are hot. The Raptors are hot. Cleveland's kind of heating up, and you know how LeBron James in the playoffs is just LeBron James.
It's a one-man team. Yeah,
it's a one-man team.
Drags all those people kicking and screaming.
8 consecutive finals appearances for LeBron James.
I don't think it'll be 9 though.
Who do you have beating them? Because the Celtics are going to be losing the first round.
It has to be Toronto.
Well, I would be very happy if that was the case, but Toronto is known for choking in the playoffs, no matter how well they do in the regular season. A lot of people are talking about the 76ers, who are now the 3 seed in the East, making it to the finals.
Trust the process, just like Joel Embiid.
To me, honestly, whatever team makes it out of the West is going to win the championship, in my opinion.
I don't see Toronto losing to Washington. I mean, that's far-fetched. And
Washington I don't think John Wall is back.
he is back, yeah.
He is back now?
Yep. But, again, Toronto's they're too good.
Yeah.
They're just too good. And, again, Boston without Kyrie and Gordon Hayward for sure is not coming back.
Toronto's a good regular season team, and then Kyle Lowry is nowhere to be found in the playoffs every single year. So I am a Raptors fan being Canadian, but
you'd think
I'm not going to get my hopes up.
Yeah, one of these years you'd hope that did show up.
Yeah, I'm done getting my hopes up.
I don't see Cleveland
Raptors
losing to Indiana. But the team I'd watch would be Milwaukee. But again, they have to go through Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Because Giannis and Antetokounmpo.
They could get hot. It can happen. But prediction, finals. 2 teams and the amount of games. Go.
That's a tough one. I honestly think Toronto versus Houston. And Houston's going to win 6 games in 6.
Win in 6?
Yep, 4-2.
Well, my finals prediction will be a little bit different.
Oh, boy, here we go.
I'm going to say it will be the San Antonio Spurs versus the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals, and it will go to 7 games.
With the winner being?
Drum roll, please. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
Really? Wow. If they win.
The Spurs are one of the hottest teams in the West right now, and they're doing this all without Kawhi Leonard. So a lot of people don't think he's going to come back, but I'm hoping that he can come back. And if he does come back for the playoffs, Golden State's limping around right now, and I think but
once they get healthy though, they're formidable.
Yeah,
that's the thing is they have to get healthy.
They are. They have to get healthy, but if Kawhi's in San Antonio, I think they can easily beat the Rockets because they can shut down James Harden easily. James Harden's weakness is the San Antonio Spurs.
I thought James Harden's weakness was the playoffs.
That too, and defense.
But they have Chris Paul now, so. Well,
yeah.
Wait, you're saying James Harden plays defense?
No.
I mean, come on, let's be real here.
Moving on to the NHL playoffs. The NHL playoffs are now finally set in stone, with the Nashville Predators being the number 1 seed, the Tampa Bay Lightning being the number 1 seed in the East. What do you think about the playoffs? What do you think is going to happen?
I want to watch and see what Las Vegas does. They're the new team this year. They took first in the Pacific Division, but they're a group of upstarts, a bunch of misfits that all came together with a purpose of not wanted on their other team. And now they're here with the 1 seed in the Pacific, as I said. But they're not a playoff experienced team, and correct me if I'm wrong, NHL playoffs is way different from the regular season, right?
Well, it's
a different beast.
It's long. It's a different animal, and experience is definitely necessary when it comes to the playoffs.
And the only one they have with experience is Marc-Andre Fleury.
Mm-hmm. And he has cup-winning experience, which will be nice.
Which is huge to have your goalie as someone who's like him. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's just as good as Marty Brodeur. I'm not saying he's better, but he's comparable. But I just don't know how well they're going to do. I'm rooting for them because, it's cool to see a new team like this be so successful right out the gate. I just don't think they're going to do it. But I also want to see what happens when Washington and Pittsburgh meet again in the playoffs because Washington has to beat Columbus to get to the next round. And
they'll both make it to the second round.
Pittsburgh won't lose to Philadelphia, but I could see it happening because Philadelphia's been on the up and up recently. They've been hot. But, again, it's Pittsburgh and Washington. But is Ovi going to finally get that monkey off his back and beat Crosby in the playoffs?
I guess we'll have to wait and find out if it even gets to that point. It should, but based on playoff experience.
It's always been Sid the Kid over Ovi.
How about Jets Wild, my hometown being Winnipeg?
Versus the state
being
of
a
hockey.
Minnesota boy. What do you think about that series? How far is it going to go?
I would be a lot more confident in the Wild if they were completely healthy. Because our top 2 defensemen, Suter, he's out for the rest of the season with that fractured fibula in his ankle. And Jared Spurgeon's coming off a partially torn hamstring. He's game time decision like every single game this series. It's half our blue line is from the Iowa Wild. They're not saying they're bad or a bunch of scrubs. They're quality players, but it's a young bunch. Playoff hockey is different than regular season. So I'm going to be happy to see how they perform. I'm looking forward to it. I think this is one of the series to watch because every time the Jets play the Wild, it's always a physical smash-mouth game. It's a 200-foot game every single time.
And that's what I like about the new playoff format from the NHL is that it has a lot more divisional matchups.
It's those rivalries, right?
Yeah, and you have
right
those rivalries and intense games. The Jets season series with the Wild is 3-1, so we'll see if that plays a factor.
The odds are in Winnipeg's favor, but
for sure they are. But the Wild, I would argue that the Wild have more playoff experience.
They do. They're the older team,
and that can definitely play a factor in the playoffs, and it has in the past. Another key factor for the Winnipeg Jets, I think, will be Paul Stastny.
Yep,
that was a great addition for the Jets at the trade deadline. He has 13 points in 19 games, so a little under a point a game for him, and look to see him perform in the playoffs as well, as he has a lot of playoff experience.
Yeah. I see the Wild taking – they'll win the series, but it'll take every single game. It's not going to be
I have the Jets in 6, but
it'll be the Wild
we'll see
in
how
7.
that happens. You say Wild in 7?
Wild in 7.
You think the Wild are going to go into Winnipeg in front of the craziest fan base in the National Hockey League?
Really?
And win that game. Easily the loudest.
I'm not saying they're not the loudest, but every person has their favorite team says their fan base is the craziest.
True.
I mean, I think the Minnesota Wild have the craziest fan base. Then again, that's just my biased opinion being from Minnesota and being a state of hockey boy.
Another thing to think about regarding the playoffs is teams get hot and teams get cold.
And it's who shows up and who doesn't.
Right.
That's right the beast of it.
Right now, the Jets in the West, at least, the Jets and the Ducks are the hottest teams in the West, winning their last 5. Jets going 9-1 in the last 10. Ducks 8-1-1.
That is huge for them.
The Ducks, they passed San Jose by 1 point to take over the second place and get home ice advantage for the first round. So that was pretty big for the Ducks. They went from 9th place in the West to all the way up to 2nd in the Pacific Division in like 2 weeks' time. So they're pretty hot right now. So look for them as well to advance pretty far. What are your cup predictions and games?
Washington, Nashville, and Washington in 6.
Washington. So you think Ovi's finally going to get his cup?
He's due. He
is due for one, but
it's just been so long, and I just want to see that man win a cup. As much as I want to see the Wild win, I don't think they'll get past Nashville in the next round. Nashville's just, but then again, they've beaten Nashville pretty handily in the regular season, so I'm not ruling anything out.
I think the East is too difficult for Washington to make it there.
The East is too difficult for any team, really.
The East is...
Tampa Bay probably has the best chance.
The East in hockey is like the West in the NBA this year.
Just stacked.
It's just stacked. You have the Lightning, the Bruins, even... I hate to say this, but even the Maple Leafs are looking good going into the playoffs.
It's a dogfight. It's just toughest one comes out, and I think Washington's going to show it this year.
Well, my Stanley Cup Finals prediction will be the Ducks versus the Penguins and Ducks in 7.
Really?
That is my Stanley Cup prediction.
So it won't be a three-peat by Sid?
No, they will lose in the finals to the Anaheim Ducks.
Your second favorite team?
They're 1A and 1B in my mind. It's hard to grow up. You grow up and you don't have a hockey team, and you hear all about the Winnipeg Jets who left because of Gary Bettman, and you have to instantly you can't grow up not being a fan of a team.
Oh, right.
So
you have to pick one.
I decided to be a fan of the Anaheim Ducks because
back from the Mighty Duck days.
Back in the Mighty Duck days, because I would always see videos of Teemu Selanne scoring goals for the Winnipeg Jets, and then he was on the Ducks. So I said, "Well,
follow your favorite player.
I'm going to be a Ducks fan."
I don't blame you there.
And then the Jets came back, and that's my hometown, so I can't not like the Jets.
Yeah, you just can't be that guy and not root for your hometown.
Yeah, and I'm not going to ditch my old team that I grew up loving. So those are my 2 teams, and I'll stand by that.
That's respectable. But another note I'd like to make on the NHL before we move on is the Sedin twins are finally retiring.
That's a long time in the NHL, a long time with the Vancouver Canucks.
I never would have seen more dedication to a franchise than they have shown. Yeah. Especially when they were drafted right behind each other, one after the next.
the loyalty they showed is something that every coach and organization wants to see in a player, and they were drafted together, and they spent 18 years with the Vancouver Canucks.
And if I read it correctly, one, if not the other, leads all the statistical categories for franchise records.
Yep.
Which is honestly a cool
and
thing.
they ended it on a good note too. With
they won their last home game.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, they won the last home game.
I believe it was a Henrik Sedin to Daniel Sedin one-timer.
Yep, to win
overtime.
the game in overtime.
You can't go out in a bigger bang than that. I'm happy to see that.
Yeah, Henrik set up Daniel, which happened all too much over the last 18 years, and Daniel won the game for them.
Hey, fun time hockey.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Masters, Patrick Reed won the Masters for his first ever overall victory, I believe, right?
His first ever major tournament. He had 5 victories prior, but in minor tournaments. But
it is a major victory?
First ever major tournament victory.
That's impressive. Going into the Masters, never winning a major cup, and then just getting a green jacket at, was he 14 under par?
Yep.
But another note I saw was Tiger finished at 1 up on par, which I thought he'd do better, but considering all things considered, he's probably a little rusty. Competition's a little stiff. He's just finally getting back in the swing of things, pun intended.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he made the cut at the Masters for.
He made it for a reason.
Yeah, and Patrick Reed was actually minus 15 at the end of the day.
Oh, was it?
Just to correct that.
Okay.
But Ricky Fowler was at minus 14, and he came close, and he actually finished ahead of Jordan Spieth for second place, and left Augusta with a nice $750,000 for second place. So.
Yeah, and Bubba Watson was tied 5th at 9 under. Yep, there we go. So, as much as I hate on golf, I do respect the athletes in it. It's just not fun to watch, but I do understand it is way more fun to play.
Yeah, golf's a fun sport. I'd argue that it's the most difficult, the most challenging sport to play mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, obviously not, but they're definitely getting probably 50,000 steps in every time they touch the course. So
I'd love to see someone put on like a little walking odometer and just see how many miles they walk in a day on the course.
And think about they do that for 4 days in a row. Thursday,
yeah, my legs would be dead, no joke. So
yeah.
So going on to the MLB, Giancarlo Stanton is off to a slow start in the Bronx. And I find this funny because the Yankees booed him 2 days in a row because he went 0 for 5 with, I believe, 4 or 5 strikeouts both those days, and he's the first ever player in the history of the MLB to do so. And I do like how he takes it, though. He said, because this is on BleacherReport.com, he said, just got to look at it as a bad week. He told the reporters, the season's much longer than a week and a couple of good games, and I could turn around and help us win. Because he is currently 7 for 42. He's batting 167 with 3 home runs and 7 RBIs, or his first 10 games in the pinstripe uniform. And as I said, he went 0 for 7 with 5 strikeouts in Sunday's 8-7 loss to the Orioles, and his second time already this season with 5 strikeouts in a game. I mean, historically, that's not numbers he should be putting up. He should be hitting 250 and not striking out as much. But
it's still early, but I feel like he can definitely rebound. At the same time, it could also just be not a good fit with him in the Yankees. But
one thing you also got to look at, though, is this may not be known to the public, but pitching is different from National League to American League. Because in the National League, you have 8 technical hitters because the pitcher isn't all that. He isn't really considered a hitter unless you have Shohei Ohtani. But again, he's in the Angels, so he's in the American League. But you'll see more fastballs in the National League than you will in the American League because in the American League, you got to deal with the DH, who's a threat every time. So you have to throw curveballs, sliders. You have to keep every single hitter off balance, so it's more of a mental game. So he's probably seeing more curveballs, more off-speed junk, and he can't locate those fastballs he's so used to in the MLB, in the National League. So maybe that could be it. Maybe it's not. I'm not sure. But, on the other side of the continent, we have Shohei Ohtani, who's off to a fantastic start.
And it's definitely a good start after what we saw out of him in the preseason.
Dude, he shouldn't have been on the Major League roster based on his preseason.
But I guess the Angels saw something in him, and they were 100%
He's
right.
proven everyone wrong. I mean, it's great to see. I mean, the dude, what he's doing right now in the MLB hasn't been done since Babe Ruth, pitching and hitting.
And in his 19 at-bats, there's a statistic that he has more home runs than the entire Marlins roster in their 273 at-bats.
Well, the Marlins are just a different story after what they did this offseason with Derek Jeter. I mean, I kind of saw, like, when he traded Giancarlo to the Yankees, I'm just like, oh, he's just rebuilding the team he left. And he got him for next to nothing. A couple prospects and Starlin Castro, and you're like, pennies to the dollar on that one.
So what is your early season MLB predictions?
Well, I see the Giants have kind of resurfaced in compared to where they were the past few years, and the Dodgers are a little bit down, which, you know, again, it's a young season. You don't expect much, and even the Twins, as much as they're off to a hot start, they kind of slow down too. But you can't really look too much into the beginning of the season because it's a 162-game season. But Boston's off to a 9-1 start. The Twins are 5-4 now after beating the defending champion Astros last night. But even then, the Astros are 9-3. But one thing I really noticed is the Mets. They're off to a heck of a start right now. Matt Harvey seems to be back to his 2013 form, which is great to see. The Dark Knight is back in the Big Apple, as he goes by his nickname. But there's really no way to tell who's going to be where at the end of the season because, as we all know, baseball's a mental game. It's based on stats. So it's a grind. At the end of the season, we'll know more, maybe towards the midway point, but it's too hard to make any predictions now. But I'm impressed to see that there are some upstart teams that haven't been prevalent in the past years.
The Astros are going to be strong again.
Oh, they're going to be good for like the next 5 years if they can maintain their core.
They could be the next dynasty in the MLB.
They could be if they keep their pitching, their hitting, and they make sure they have enough depth on the bench. You know, I'm happy to see a struggling franchise for so long be so good. But it's funny to note that you have to tank in order to be good. Well,
they executed the textbook team rebuild.
Oh yeah,
so many general managers and teams try and do, and they executed it to perfection. The Cleveland Browns have been trying to do it for the past 20 years or so, and they're still unsuccessful.
Yeah, the 76ers finally hit on it, but
yeah,
at so much scrutiny and criticism from the league. But, you know, they got the job done.
The next team to do it in the NBA needs to be the Sacramento Kings.
Oh, my God.
They've been bad for a very long time, too.
I don't remember last time they're good. Maybe when they had Mike Bibby and Chase. Oh, who was White Chocolate? Jason Williams, I think.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, look for more teams to rebound in the future and turn their teams around. And if you're looking for a team that did it to perfection, then it would be the Houston Astros.
Yeah. Are you rooting for the Blue Jays this year?
I'm always rooting for the Blue Jays. That's our country's team. But, you know, they're not looking as good as they have in the past. I really wish they would have re-signed Jose Bautista, but
he's still a free agent.
He is still a free agent, but
he's
came out and said that he's only going to play for a team that's a contender. So, you know, it's possible he could go to the Red Sox. They were talking about...
I don't think they could afford him because he wants too much, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, if he's not picking up a contract,
he'll sign for cheap. Yeah.
He's going to have to settle because
that's what a lot of veterans
do.
Year
without getting paid.
Yeah, when they ring Chase, they'll be like, I'll take less money just to win a ring.
Well, we could see what happens as injuries occur throughout the season. Teams are going to start having more needs.
It's a long season.
He'll be well rested and ready to go if a team wants him.
So.
Well, on that note, we'll conclude today's podcast of Calling an Audible, and we wish you all a good day.
Calling an Audible is made possible through the assistance of the University of Minnesota Crookston Media Services Department and executive producer James Pagachnik. The views expressed on Calling an Audible are not necessarily the views of the University of Minnesota Crookston or its affiliates.